and we have billions of galaxies out there, and the probability that there is life somewhere is very, very high. If you take into the fact
Just
that
probability.
math, right? However, and then you think about, okay, the probability of intelligent life is lower, but you still have enough out there to have intelligent life. Where the probability goes down is the fact that it's such a long span of time. So it's 13 billion.
You mean for traveling?
Well, I mean, if you invent faster than like travel, or you invent wormholes or whatever, but a civilization has to get to that point.
Right.
Like, I don't know if we'll ever get to that point. By who? Somebody else would have to nudge them.
Yep.
Right?
Oh yeah.
But that it would have to come origin at some point. So the kicker is that there could be all kinds of intelligent civilizations that have come and gone over the years, and they didn't get the opportunity to contact us, or they didn't invent faster than light travel, or maybe they did invent faster than light travel, but then they just didn't come to Earth.
Is this something you've contemplated, or are you just now kind of doing the math on that? Like, or
no, that's something I've thought about. Yeah.
Like I would completely, if I can consider that life must exist out there, to your point, some species may have come and gone already before us.
Way before us.
Or they are in parallel to us, yet neither of us have reached the ability to reach out to the other.
Right, or they're so far away.
And look how close we are to potentially wiping ourselves out.
Right.
Right? We could be one of those civilizations, those species that comes and goes.
Without getting anywhere.
And without getting anywhere.
Yeah, which hopefully doesn't happen. I would like to see an expanse kind of scenario happen. So that's where I think of it, and that's where I get very skeptical that aliens have visited us because of that whole timing thing.
Unless they're closer than you think, and they have the ability to traverse time and space. I'm still, the jury's still out for me on what time is, because time's just a measure from one thing to another. It's a delta. It's not a physical thing, right? Although our brains process things linearly. So there could, if given the math on a wormhole, to be able to take space and fold it up and then travel there as opposed to travel
a tesseract.
So I think that's probably more probable. And truth is, listen to me. This guy that I was telling you about, this Corey Good guy that does these videos of these fantastical experiences, talks about this network throughout the solar systems and throughout the universe, to which people can travel at these different times and places instantaneously. I don't quite understand how he was describing it, but if something like that exists,
it would have to be something like a wormhole.
Yeah, I would guess. But I mean, if you like what you were talking about last week, like not superposition. What were you talking about? The portal transport. We were talking about.
Oh, we were talking about using quantum entanglement to do teleportation.
So that's instantaneous, right? So if you just sort of scale that up, if you can quantum entangle yourself from this location to another location instantaneously, then travel over space or distance and time is irrelevant.
Correct.
Right.
But there has to be a quantum entanglement. That has to actually
as we understand it.
Yeah.
Now.
So and the funny thing about quantum mechanics, and nobody really understands it, in quantum entanglement, is that there doesn't seem to be any kind of distance factor to it.
Right.
So something could be 10 billion light years away and we could still be entangled with it. Like, how does that work,
Sounds cool, though.
I don't know.
Instantaneously show up over there?
Yeah. But it only works for particles.
Well,
but this is something that physicists have been able to show.
And if you think about it, that's as much as we understand right now, right?
Yes.
If you just go back to that conversation about the the fighter jets chasing these UFOs, right?
Yeah.
They don't know where they are or whatever. Damn, I lost my point. What was I going to say? Why was I comparing it back to that? Oh, they speculate that this object can move the way it does. They videotape this thing moving. If you do your best approximate math on it, the speeds at which it travels would crush a human being, right? The G-force. My voice still Ice Cube. The G-forces would kill somebody, right? The acceleration. So they speculate that this it's not a glow, it's a disturbance that they see around the object. Their speculation is that it's creating its own, call it a gravitational bubble. It wouldn't be gravitation, what would it be? Time-space bubble, that thing. So it would have to abide by the laws of physics within that bubble. But that bubble could transverse our, call it, environment. And essentially it would just push time and space out of its way. So it's not, what's the right word? It's not bound by the same physics from our perspective.
It's not bound by like Newtonian mechanics or quantum mechanics or like
Newtonian, like the acceleration forces, centripetal, whatever, all that sort of stuff, because it literally creates some sort of bubble that is able to move within our space, but within there it can do all these fantastical things. And then as it moves, so it has no wind resistance, none of that stuff. Anyway, that's just part of the speculation as they're looking at these videos, trying to figure out how can this thing move like it does.
Right,
and then,
move like it does and not crush its occupants, right?
Short of being a drone, right? They don't know that there's real occupants.
There might not be any.
But it isn't, they said it was intelligent because it did turn and actively jam their radar.
Right, well, what about an intelligent civilization making artificial intelligence?
Sure, and truth is, it doesn't even have to come off planet. Like if you take the conversation we just had, and you literally said, well, because there's hollow Earth theory, there's all these other theories that there are civilizations living in planet Earth.
What's hollow Earth theory?
Oh, it's another fun one, man. These are all like science fiction. Like I don't know any of those things are real, but what's the dude's name? Not Commander Byrd.
Why? So
Maybe
the Earth has a magnetic field because of the stuff inside it.
Yeah. So
how could it be hollow?
Well, it does. To some degree, think of catacombs or honeycomb structure, to where you have large caverns, like bigger than.
Right, but then wouldn't that screw the magnetic field up?
I don't know.
I think it would.
I don't know. I mean, if it's there, then our magnetic field, as we experience today, is either, it is what it is, whether it would be different if that cavern was filled or not, right?
Right, but like air doesn't create a magnetic field.
No, I'm not saying that the center of the Earth still doesn't have its iron core.
Okay.
I'm not saying that. I mean, right, our crust is 5 miles thick, right? And then you get down to all the different layers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I say that, just think of inner layers, not the center of the Earth. I don't think that they're talking about that. They're talking about, I mean, we already know there's giant caverns on Earth, right? Some of these could be way deeper, 5-10 miles deep. But that kind of thing wouldn't disrupt the magnetic field. And I'm not talking about, because that's a lot of pressure. That core is going to stay molten, right?
What is this hollow Earth theory? Is that civilization being inside the Earth?
So yeah, there's these, and people have claimed that they have found their way to these civilizations and made their way back out and reported on it, right? Again, disclaimer, don't know any of this is true. Mm-hmm. It's fun to listen to, and hear these stories. But then when you can piece them together, it's not to say that you could have had a civilization that found their way inside to avoid any cataclysms on the surface of the earth, right? In which case their civilization could have developed for over millions of years inside the earth. And any of these UFOs that we see around here, because we have no, even though people make, claim that they see these UFOs, we just assume they're coming from outer space, right? I mean...
Well, and we can assume that they're like a military aircraft too, right?
True, and so if you...
UFO is literally unidentified flying object. It doesn't necessarily mean it's alien.
Correct. And so if there was some civilization inside the earth, to some degree, and they developed that technology, then they aren't alien either, right? They are original Earthlings, if you will, right? Anyway, that's all that stuff is fascinating to me. But I don't lose my mind. Like I said, I still have to pay my mortgage every month, my electric bill, go to work and do all that stuff. So it's fun entertainment. I don't know if it's real, but it is fascinating. Like when we were talking about in the car, how this Joe Rogan interviewed the guy who literally could reverse the aging of the mitochondria in his body. You go, that's pretty fantastical, and it's only going to get better. Somebody's going to eventually figure out, not so much stop, like, I don't know that you could stop growth, right? That doesn't make any sense, right? Because you replace your cells all the time, right? I don't know that you could stop that process.
So you replace your entire body, really, over time, and I don't know what the cycle is, but you aren't the same set of cells you were.
Different organs at different rates, but it's something like 7 years or something, right? Which is even weird in and of itself.
That's weird, right? Like you are completely different material.
So I didn't commit that crime 7 years ago, is what you're really saying, right? Yeah.
I don't want to know.
So I didn't commit a crime. I'm just saying that would be the best court defense.
Yeah. That wasn't me.
These atoms, these cells, they were not there. They did not perform.
Not there.
So, I'll have to share some of those videos that I saw to see if you. I'm sure some of them you absolutely have to suspend doubt, suspend reality to let these people say what they say.
Yes.
But some people are very convincing, and even that I'm like, I have friends who are actors, so I'm like, I know what can be done through an actor, right? So if they've choreographed it, great. But then you go, oh, great, the ATIP program was real, right? And it got exposed. So the government's watching something. And now you go, ooh, now all these, what was fun and fantastical, one starts to go, hold on, which one is real? Which one, it's like that game show, what are they, to tell the truth or something like that? Where they had 3 people and they would describe themselves.
Oh, 2 truths and a lie?
No, but similar. You had to figure out from the story which contestant was the real Bob Jones. And they would, because they all claimed to be Bob Jones. I am the real, but it was even before my time. Something I saw as a rerun as a kid. Excuse me, but it's kind of like, you can't tell these days who's truthful and who's not in their YouTube videos, okay, when they tell these stories.
No, people can be full of crap.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like, okay, well, this ATIP program was just, exposed. That's real. The government's been lying, obviously, because they've been trying to hide this thing, and now here we are in modern times, right? So that makes you go, well, I wonder, was the Roswell thing a true cover-up, right? I mean, I don't know. I wasn't there. You weren't there. So bottom line is, you go, well, they got busted on this one.